Now, the global domination of the dollar is under threat.
The United States is about to face a new economic reality.
I don't want to be overly dramatic, but I think I will use the word doomed in the long term.
The BRICS have come to town, and the dollar is no longer the king of global currency. The US dollar was the king of the hill, but the BRICS decided it was time to kill. They chose their currencies, no turning back, and the USD was sent on its track. It's time for the BRICS to make a show. The dollar's gone, time to let go. Forget the USD, I'll pay you in BRICS, the currency of choice for a good chuckle. It might soon be in the record of good old days when USD was the currency of global exchange. Why did it happen? What was the reason? Whether the plan will actually lay any sweet grapes is yet to be seen. But the fact that the BRICS nations are making serious attempts to create a new currency for international trade is a sign that the dollar's days as the world's de facto currency could soon be numbered. For the viewers wondering, what the heck is even BRICS? In a language a human can understand, the BRICS collective is like a group of kids on the playground who are tired of being bossed around by the biggest kid, the US dollar. Together they are plotting a way to stand up to the bully and reclaim their freedom. In other words, they're hoping to come up with a currency of their own that they can use instead of the US dollar. A sort of currency of the people, by the people, for the people. In doing so, they're hoping to push back against America's dominance and make sure their own interests are taken into account. It's like a superpower team-up of all the smaller kids in the playground who, together, can finally go toe-to-toe with the biggest kid. Kinda like a mini economic Avengers movie with Thanos being USD, but no visual effects, sadly. But is USD actually the evil here? What has been wrong all this time? It doesn't have to be all demonic. Think of the US dollar like an old, tired superhero. For years, it's been the go-to currency for international trade, but lately it's been getting a bit of a bad rap. That's why the BRICS nations have decided to create their own new currency, like an up-and-coming sidekick who's ready to save the day. This new currency will be a medium for payments that doesn't defend the dollar or euro, so the BRICS nations can take a stand against American hegemony. Will it benefit India? Well, only time will tell, but it sure looks like the new currency is ready to give the dollar a run for its money. Good or evil? Replacing the US dollar with the BRICS currency has the potential to offer both advantages and disadvantages. If the BRICS countries are able to effectively manage the new currency, it could provide greater economic stability and a more accurate way to assess the value of goods and services across the BRICS countries. This could lead to increased investment and trade within the BRICS countries, which could bring economic growth and prosperity to the region. However, if the BRICS countries are unable to manage the new currency effectively, it could lead to economic instability and increased currency speculation, which could have a negative impact on the global economy. Ultimately, it will depend on how the new currency is managed and how the BRICS countries decide to use it. Fall of USD. Dethroned. Russia and China have been leading the way in de-dollarization. They have been reducing their holdings of US treasuries and increasing their foreign currency reserves in yuan and rubles. They have also been signing bilateral agreements to trade in their own currencies and have even started trading oil and yuan. The process of de-dollarization is still in its early stages, but it has already caused a stir. It has made the US government nervous as it is losing its grip on the world economy. But the king of currencies is not just going to surrender his throne without a fight. The US is now trying to counter de-dollarization by introducing new regulations and launching initiatives to promote the US dollar. It looks like the king of currencies is going to have to prove his worth if he is to stay on the throne. Who will emerge victorious in this battle? Time will tell. The mismanagement. It's no secret that the US dollar has been in a downward spiral lately, losing more than 10% of its value over the past year. It's like that scene in the movie Armageddon when Bruce Willis is trying to get the asteroid to break apart, but it just keeps getting bigger. The reasons for this are wide-ranging, but here are some of the biggest factors: rising inflation, global economic turmoil, and rising trade deficits. Inflation is a natural part of the economy, but when it gets out of control, it can weaken the value of money. Global economic turmoil can also lead to currencies weakening, including the US dollar. And when the US has a large trade deficit with other countries, it means more American dollars are being spent abroad than are being brought in, which decreases demand for USD. After all, when investors don't know what the future holds, they tend to move away from the US dollar, resulting in its value going down. All these factors have contributed to the US dollar's declining value, and it doesn't look like it will be bouncing back anytime soon. So, if you're looking to save your money, you might want to look for other places to invest your hard-earned dollars. Monetary favor shift. Banks have always been the biggest determinants in international trade exchanges. The trend of central banks moving away from the greenback as a reserve currency has been gaining steam in recent years, with the International Monetary Fund noting that the dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves fell below 59% in the final quarter of 2020. This shift has been largely due to the increased demand for the Chinese renminbi and the currencies of smaller countries that have traditionally played a more limited role in the global reserve currency market. The implications of this shift are far-reaching. For one, it could lead to increased volatility in financial markets as the dollar no longer serves as a safe haven currency. It could also lead to friction between the US and the countries whose currencies are gaining popularity. It's no hidden fact that it could lead to the weakening of the US dollar, which could lead to higher inflation and a weaker purchasing power. In today's times, those who are looking to diversify their investments and reduce their exposure to the US dollar, it is wise to consider investing in the currencies of smaller countries or even the Chinese renminbi. Political shifts. It's as if Russia, India, and China were all playing a game of Monopoly, and the United States suddenly said, "No more getting out of jail free cards." The international trading order has been turned upside down and the world is in a state of chaos. It's like that classic scene in The Godfather Part 2 when Michael Corleone says,
"Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer."
Except in this case, everyone is trying to keep their enemies as far away as possible. Who knows what will happen next? Perhaps it's time for the world to start trading in Krabby Patties.
Got him!
The implementation complications. What if India insists on using only Indian rupee? Would the other BRICS nations accept this and continue to use the BRICS currency anyway? Or would the Indian government have to resort to some creative methods to make sure the new currency is accepted? Maybe they could start accepting payments in coconuts or mangoes. Jokes apart, but there is no denial in the fact that it is time for the two countries with the biggest working class in the world to level up. This comes as a warning to the great superpower, which may not be the greatest superpower soon. Key reason for the change. It's quite funny to think about the US dollar's hegemonic presence in global finance. The US dollar status in oil trading is an especially lighthearted example. Despite it having nothing to do with either country of origin or the parties trading it, it still reigns supreme. According to the Bank for International Settlements, half of global trade is invoiced in US dollars, which is absolutely comical when you consider they only account for 10% of global trade. Other countries have to bear the burden of dollar-denominated debt that rises and falls with exchange rates, and US monetary policy often plays out far more than domestic decisions in those countries. Perhaps the US dollar should just get its own seat at the UN. Verdict. At this time, it is impossible to predict the future and whether BRICS currencies will replace the US dollar as a global reserve currency. Surely, there is a mini Economic Avengers movie up on desk in international exchange. Time will tell the good and bad sides of it, but for now, it is impossible to foresee what the future holds. Heck, we don't even have the time stone anymore thanks to the good Doctor Strange.